This is a Ford F-150 Lightning, and it's a pure electric pickup truck from the USA. A vehicle that poses plenty of questions about what it takes to be a good electric car by being a very good electric pickup. But what exactly are those questions? Well, they're things like exactly who needs a car of this size that's pure electric and has the ability to tow the world off its axis? Exactly how big is a mega power frunk? Well, I'm here to give you some answers. But while you're here, please do go into the comments and tell us what you think to the F-150 Lightning. And while you're there, please do like and subscribe. Or don't. I'm not some sort of tyrant. So, the F-150 Lightning, Ford's pure electric F-Series truck. And what the company thinks is the most important launch since the Model T. Seriously. It comes with either a 98 or 130 kilowatt hour battery, which gives you about 230 or 320 miles of range respectively. But that range is the US EPA rating, which tends to be a bit harsher than our European WLTP. And by harsher, I mean more accurate. That's actually not that bad for a vehicle with the aerodynamic profile of Westminster Cathedral. There are many toys and a not inconsiderable road footprint.
No, it's not very UK appropriate, but US cars are a product of infrastructure and geography as much as preference. They're designed to do a job, and those jobs are a bit different to the things we need cars to do in UK and Europe. So where the F-150 is a whale amongst minnows here in Northamptonshire, in most of the US, it's just moderately big. You can't judge the Lightning on your UK preferences because it wasn't built to satisfy them. But that doesn't mean it's not important.
Well, in a good year, Ford sells nearly 1 million F-Series trucks. 1 million. That's a lot. In fact, the F-Series has been one of the world's best-selling vehicles for a long time, up until a couple of years ago. So getting a working, usable electric F-Series is a very big deal. Now, prices in America start from about $40,000, by the way, which is super competitive. So what we're getting into here is not an argument so much about whether a car of this size is a good thing, even if it is electric, but whether it's better to replace a V8 diesel or petrol with an electric F-Series. My belief is that if you get something like this that people can use, that fits into their lifestyle, that it turns them on to the idea of electric, and it's better than having a V8 diesel rolling coal all over the backyard of America. But let's face it, asking a Texan to run a Kia EV6, for instance, isn't going to work, because that vehicle is not going to do any of the things that he needs it to do. So making an electric F-Series gives them an option. What you are talking about is replacing a V8 petrol with an electric one.
A couple of 100,000 reservations and a sales cap because Ford didn't want customers waiting for years doesn't suggest that. And there are more electric full-size pickups coming. Also, see Rivian, possibly the Tesla Cybertruck. Or possibly not.
Comfy, that's what this is. I mean, look at these seats. They're like wing-back chairs. They are so comfortable, and you can sort of bend them around to make yourself perfect. So the basics first. This is a big car, so there's a lot of space to fill, but you get a big driver information screen in front of you, and then either a 12 or 15.5 inch sort of portrait touchscreen in the middle, which is a bit like the Mach-E, and it has Ford's Sync 4 multimedia system on it, which is actually pretty good. But better than that, this car has so many fun things in it. Now, this is a Platinum edition, so it gets all of the options, but one of the things I did notice is if you were worried that you were too small to drive one of these seats electrically adjust and you can go into any position, but you can also, via a button down here, change where the pedals are, so you can make it fit you perfectly whether you're very tall or very short. And then just the space is filled with storage. There are 3 sets of door pockets in the doors, so you could put all of your stuff in the door pockets, but then there's wireless charging down here with some extra charging ports. There's another little shelf there, there's cup holders, space for your phone, and then this is really interesting. This center console is massive, but this big gear stick actually folds away by pressing this button here. Magic. And then you actually fold this out to become a desk, picnic table, whatever you need. And then once you've done that, you can open it back up and you've got a quite generous space to lock away valuables. It is quite well thought out. I used to get quite frustrated by F-Series trucks back in the day because they'd be massive, but they didn't have anywhere to put anything. They always felt like they weren't making use of their space. The Lightning, on the other hand, it really is. I could live in here. So will this thing work for people who want a V8? Well, I happen to think it will. Even though there's no noise, the power and torque more than make up for that. This is a standard range battery, which gets 446 brake horsepower and 775 pounds-feet of torque, which is quite a lot. And the extended range battery, 130 kilowatt hour battery, gets 572 brake horsepower and the same torque figure. Let's face it, it's probably enough. The fastest one gets from 0 to 62 miles an hour in, get this, 4.6 seconds, which is faintly ridiculous for a car of this size. And in terms of US trucks, I think it actually handles and rides really quite nicely. Okay, so on a British B road like this, it does that weird pick-uppy thing of shuddering when you hit loads of bumps, but on a freeway it would be fine to fabulous, and let's not forget that's where it was designed to be. Plus these things are all all-wheel drive, so you can take them off-road, and I figure that it'll pretty much handle whatever most owners are going to throw at them. It does feel massive. We're in Northamptonshire, and going through the villages, it feels like a lorry, which is a bit weird. One big important thing though is it also tows. Now that's a big deal in America, and with the biggest towing pack that comes with this car, you can tow up to 10,000 pounds, which is about 4.5 tons, and that is one hell of a caravan or boat or pretty much anything you want really.
Okay, so range is always going to be a thing. That's a point that needs to be addressed because, bluntly, America is bigger than the UK. So the vehicles need to be able to cover more distance between charges. The standard range is 230 miles EPA is okay for local stuff, and the extended range manages 320. But I do wonder what that translates to if you're also doing the towing thing. And it also makes it slightly surprising that the charging ability isn't the best. It's got 11 kilowatt AC charging and only 150 kilowatt DC, which is a bit meh given the battery sizes available. That's 15 to 80% in 44 minutes on a big public rapid charger, or an hour and a half on a 50 kilowatt. That definitely could be more impressive. One thing it does really well though is charging the other way, because you can use your Lightning as one giant power bank. Run your house through the vehicle to load, or power a small army of power tools through the Pro Power onboard system. This thing has more power ports and plugs than I have devices. And yes, I have a lot of devices. That's making use of the static battery storage that is your car when it's not driving. And no, you won't get a flat battery by using a drill.
Well, it depends what spec you have, but come with me, because I happen to think that the F-150 Lightning is actually quite practical. Let's start at the back. Look at this. Right, so you open the truck bed and then you find really very handy rulers on the back of it. Then if you need to get in the back of the pickup, you pull that out and that's a step. And then you also have a very handy banister to help you climb in. Now this is always useful with pickups because the first time you brake, whatever's in the bed tends to slide forwards, and I'm getting too old to just be able to jump over the sides. Once you get up here, you've got a 5.5 foot bed, and interestingly, when you start to load this up with serious weight, the tail lights will light up one at a time to tell you when you're near your max load. That is seriously useful. There's also Pro Power onboard, which is this. Loads and loads of plugs for running power tools in the back, and there is even a bottle opener. But then the best trick is actually around the front, and it's called the Mega Power Frunk. And yeah, that is what it's actually called. Now, because there is no V8 in the front of this truck, what you end up with is that, which is basically a massive gap. That's up to 400 litres, which is bigger than the average UK hatchback. There's also a drain hole in the bottom, so if you're going to a tailgating party, or a frunk party in this case, you can fill it with ice, put all your beer in it, and then drain away the excess when you're finished. There's also, under this flap here, a load of power sockets so you can run power tools. So actually this is mega and powered and a frunk. So it's actually very literally named. So the F-150 Lightning is still too big for Europe, but that's not the point of it. With prices really close to the petrol-powered equivalents in the USA and much more practicality, range and charging aside, This is a car that's doing much more important electric work than its size might suggest. I don't think the F-150 Lightning is the pickup that's going to save the world, but it might ease us closer to the ones that will.
As ever, if you want to know more about cars like the F-150 Lightning or anything electrical, then please do visit electrifying.com, because we're here to help you clear the air.